The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being with me this evening. And it's good afternoon to our friends across the ditch and down south. But of course, it's still good morning in beautiful Queensland, where it's not sunny, but it's still very, very pleasant and lovely to have you with us. Okay, so we should all be, could all systems go by now. Would somebody please type into the question box if you can hear me all right? Here we are. Here's the fast one. Oh, David, good on you, mate. Good on you, Lockie. That's wonderful. Well done. Okay, so that's grand. Lots to talk about today, and I want to start off by thanking Terry, our IT guy, for this marvelous banner for today's webinar. Terry's actually an IT guy, but he's a bit of a genius of all things, and he's become a very, very good graphic artist. As you can see with this wonderful banner he's produced for us, it's the first time he's used AI, artificial intelligence. So it's certainly very, very nice, Terry, and I'm most grateful to you, of course. Okay, let's see what's happening here. And we've got a whole lot to talk about today, so we would better get at it. And here we are. Okay, so as you know, folks, markets are rational, orderly, and sometimes predictable, which is great because the Danielcode is a set of proprietary ratios that control time and price in all markets. And you know that, of course. But what many of you know, and a few of you don't yet, is that creating and trading Danielcode time signals are the best trading system I've ever seen. And that learning is only available at the Danielcode tutorial. So if you aspire to be a super trader, let me know. Send me an email and we can talk about how we get you up into that wonderful space. So just quickly, folks, we've been running our algorithm for you, the Danielcode algo number 1. That's been running for you free for a couple of months now, and it's pretty interesting. There's certainly a whole lot of benefits to be had in that. This is Bitcoin futures, which we pretty well kept because Greg Palladini, who's undoubtedly with us today, asked us to do that. Let's have a look here. We've got him. Oh, here we are. Look, everyone's here today. That's great. Dave's with us. The other David that is with us, of course. Greg from Colorado Springs, who now lives in Texas, is with us. He's a tutorial guy. Chip's with us, which is great. Let's see who else. They're all coming in now. And I really am going to get another pair of glasses very shortly. George is with us. Yes, we've got Greg. That's wonderful. Bear with me. We got the Chip. Leo's with us from up in Canada. Leo's a tutorial guy. Good to have you. And Marcel. It is so many years since I saw you, Marcel. It's wonderful to have you with us. And I know you've always been a member of the Danielcode. And I do hope you are well and happy up there in Canada. Wonderful. Marcel's been with us forever. He's done a tutorial too. Mark L's with us, of course. No party without him. Miles is with us. Milton's with us, most important. Norbert up in the cold country up in Canada. Peter Mack, who's not a day trader. A number of other Peters. Toddy Long from California is with us. And Vicky's with us, as I say. We don't have many lady members, but we're always delighted to have them when they can make it. So I'm just running through fairly quickly some of these Bitcoin, some of these algo futures. And as you'll see in another chart, that one's sitting on about 45.9, almost $46,000. It's a pretty nice way to be trading, really, isn't it? Greg, we hope you're enjoying that too. Here's natural gas futures. We've been short in this market on the TO3 signals right from the flip me signal that got us short there. And it's showing almost $5,000. That's a nice trade, really is. This is the S&P, and what I wanted to point out to you was the ability of this algorithm to move through short-term changes in trend. In other words, it can have a decent down bar, sometimes 2 or 3, without necessarily throwing the switch on that change of trend, which is the color coding. You see, obviously, pink is down, blue is up, but as you can see here, the S&P's just powered through 2 of the last pretty large sell signals, but not enough to flip us into that position, because we require the change of color, the first one as a setup bar, and then we require either the high or the low as is applicable to that particular setup bar to be taken out, which hasn't happened. Forex as well, very good. We're running 2 Forex pairs on the algos, the Euro US dollar and the dollar yen pair as well, and they've both been doing very, very well. So you Forex traders, make sure you have a look at the algorithms that they're free at the moment, and we put those up for you Wednesday and weekends. They're renewed, and I will give you a commentary under forum if there's any change in trend in the intermediate days. So we're talking about headspace today, and the headspace issues start at the very beginning, because I think people who are interested in trading are asking the wrong question. And I was just thinking back over the years and years I spent. I was fascinated with futures trading, absolutely loved it, Forex as well, but I was trying to find out how to make myself a good trader. And I went to seminars, tutorials, webinars, all around the world pretty well. And you think of the big names, I've been there, done that. And it's never worked for me. And I'm not saying it hasn't worked for other people, but it didn't work for me. And if you think of the biggies, Elliott Wave, Gann, Larry Williams, who won the Robbins World Cup Championship of Trading, and then his daughter, Michelle Williams, the beautiful actress, she won it a couple of years later, trading T-bonds. Larry was trading S&P. Robert Miner, who's a lovely guy, he's also a Robbins World Cup champion of trading, and Safety in the Market in Australia. They're Gann people, and I'll be limited in what I will say, other than that some of these guys, almost all of them, are really great, but 1 or 2 just supposedly great. But asking these guys to teach you is the wrong question. I've done all of their courses, and that's the idea. What do? You find someone who's a very good trader, and if they're willing to teach you, well, you partake of their learning and their information, and hope that that's improved you. Well, I've done all of their courses, and to be honest with you, none of them gave me what I was looking for, a really safe but supercharged trading system. And maybe I was seeking too much. Maybe I was asking too much. But really a better question is not about their trading, but about your trading. In other words, do they have the ability to make you a super trader? We know that they are good traders, but can that pass that on to you? And for my part, at least, that didn't happen, which is why I was forced, under years of desperation, to go and search for and finally discover the Danielcode. And 2 parts to that. Part of great trading is the signals, but more is the technique. And you'll see today I'm going to show you some of those techniques which you should know. But the headspace is that little voice that says, I won't take this trade today. I don't like the setup. I lost money on this market. The risk is too great. I don't know where to put my stop. And 100 brothers, sisters, and cousins of the above. If you haven't thought of it yet, you will. But the absolutely vital part of trading is to have a tested and proven plan and stick to it. Without a plan with definitive signals, you're just drifting about. And there's such a wonderful future for you trading Danielcode. I wish it on all of you. And if you haven't already taken the opportunity to do a Danielcode tutorial, I really ask you to, for your own benefit. It's a wonderful, wonderful life trading once you are a really super trader. And I can make you a super trader. That's what we do. And I keep bringing you folks who've made that jump. And we're delighted that I've got one of them, very important, with us today to talk to you. And his name's Justin. He's a guy who's been with the Danielcode for a long time. He's done a couple of tutorials, and he's been progressing through the process of the tutorial over, I should say, a considerable number of years. Justin's been with us for about 10 years, 9 years maybe, and he has now made that amazing leap to being a super trader. And we keep bringing you the next generation of super traders so you can hear from them yourself what they've had to do, how they managed to deal with their headspace issues, because all traders have headspace problems, I can promise you. And how did you go today? Did you have a great trading day today? You should have. If not, we'll show you how. So Justin, we'll be with you. You'll be coming on in about 15 to 20 minutes, mate. So it's an absolute pleasure and a delight to have you with us today. Okay, where we are. So this is one of our 6-day charts, folks. If you look at these, you can see each bar on these charts is created from 6 trading days. And they really do give you a totally different picture of the Danielcode support and resistance around markets. This is oil, crude oil. And if you wondered why it's been stuttering around those recent highs, you can see quite clearly that there's a blue line resistance up there at 78, almost 79, and you can see how devastating that's been in protecting the upside. This next chart is of UST bonds. Same thing, same comment, that they give you a completely different view of the key support and resistance, so you know where it is well in advance. Now, these charts are available to anybody who is on the Danielcode website super subscription level. That's the $4.99 a month. If you're on that subscription level and you'd like to have these charts, please email me. At this stage, they're just sent out by email. I send them out on a Wednesday evening and on the weekend. And we'll move to have these incorporated into the website shortly. But for the moment, if you're interested in receiving these charts, shoot me an email, jneedham@thedanielcode.com, and I'll be happy to add you to that list. So let's have a look what happened today. This is crude oil. We had a wonderful up trade there from the TO3 buy to the TO3 sell, with one little interruption there, a 1-bar counter trend. Then we had the sell, which was against the trend. That's the outside bar. So we exited that first profitable close, and we're presently flat. Nice bit of money there. Here's the US dollar index. Had a nice sell there today, mainly for our European clients. I know that the US dollar index and sugar and coffee, for example, are all on the ICE exchange, so it probably doesn't mean a lot to you. But US dollar index, very important that you keep an eye on that because of its correlation, inverse correlation with gold. US dollar down, gold up. US dollar up, gold down. So this has given gold a bit of a fillip today, as you can see when we get to the gold and silver charts. But there was your TO3 sell today. Simple enough. It's a trade against the trend. Put your order on and exit first profitable close. More than that, you then will make a determination whether that bar has given you a change of trend or not. This is the S&P. You can see we had a very nice TO3 plus buy signal, ran us up into the high where we had a correlated sell followed by a TO3 and blue line sell. Got the big down bar that was Tuesday and exited first profitable close because it's a trade against the apparent trend, and there's nothing in that bar. It was a nice bit of trading, but there's nothing in that bar to suggest that the trend has changed to down. Then we had the inside bar, and that gave us a TO3 plus correlated buy signal, by which I mean that all of the equities that we cover, Dow, Russell, S&P, NASDAQ, and Germany's DAX, are so highly correlated that a signal in any one of them can be executed in any other, provided the trade is elected, by which I mean provided the trade goes to the number that is set in our trade program, which is for a buy, it's 2 ticks above the true high of the last bar. For a sell, it's 2 ticks below the low of the last bar. So it was nice to get long again today on that correlated buy signal, by which I mean that the buy signal was in the NASDAQ. So there was a buy signal in the NASDAQ. You could have executed that. It was pretty feeble, I must say, but you could also have executed the same buy signal in the Dow or the Russell or the S&P, which we're looking at here, or Germany's DAX. And interestingly enough, the strongest up market today was the small caps, the Russell, which has been really lagging in this last huge super rally we've been in, but it certainly gave us a lovely trade today. So this is gold, and I've gone to show you what happened at that big outside bar, which was Tuesday of this week. We had a buy signal at the top of Monday's bar. We got long into the start of the outside bar. You tutorial folks, you all had a trailing stop, so I don't think it quite got to break even, but you certainly got some contribution towards it. And then it reversed, and as it took out the low of the previous bar, that's an outside bar on the day. And the rule is that an outside bar on the day of a new entry, which was the buy side, must stop and reverse. As well as that, it's actually also a flip me signal, which may be easier to understand, that any one of these valid Danielcode signals are so strong we give you an entry point and the initial stop loss. If that stop is violated 3 days after the signal's been elected itself, then that's a flip me, and the market is telling you you're wrong. And if you're wrong, you've got to do something about it. And what you've got to do in this case was get short. So we had the nice rundown. You made another $700 odd after the outside bar there was elected. So if you lost money saying, oh, gee, it was an outside bar, I hate outside bars, don't think like that. Outside bars are just another opportunity for you to profit, as you've seen here. So this is trade technique. You need to understand the trade technique, which of course I teach you all of that in your tutorials. Anyway, that bar went down to its next day. You can see the almost perfect target recognition in 2 days on the low of the Tuesday, and also the close of the Wednesday. Both of them gave you target recognition, which was pretty nice, and today's buy signal made you a bit more money. It's not huge, it's not massive, but it all adds to the pot. Here's copper. We had a lovely down trade, short trade in copper, all the way down, and then a buy trade which reversed. It was against the apparent trend, so we exited on the first profitable close, and it's taken a couple of days to just sort out where it is and what it's been doing, but that was a nice little bit of trading. Here's natural gas. We've been short natural gas 2 or 3 times in this rundown, and the latest move down, we had a TO3 buy signal, which was elected. It went up, and then within 3 days, in fact, in this case, it was the very first day, it took out the protective stop below that 203 TO3 buy signal, and that's what makes it a flip me signal. So the flip me sell was right there where I put the black line for you to see, and that got us short, and we're now down about $4,200 on that short trade. Very nice. This is the Russell. As I said, it was by far the most joyous and excited about its buy signal for today, and this is looking very much like we did with the S&P. We got long from the low, and we got a new sell signal which was elected with that big bar down on Tuesday. Exit first profitable close because it's against the apparent trend, and the low really wasn't, the close I should say, really wasn't low enough to give you the excitement of having a probable change of trend, and that was borne out by the red inside bar. Inside bars, remember, are a null or a void. You simply carry forward the last valid signal you had, which was a buy, and it was a correlated buy because that particular buy, as posted, was in the NASDAQ. But that means you can execute it in the Russell or the S&P or the Dow or the NASDAQ, of course, or DAX. All of those markets are so highly correlated that a signal for one is valid to be executed in any other. This is soybeans, and we had a TO3 sell signal on that fairly large up bar, and at the beginning of the week, last week, and then we had 2 inside bars. So inside bars were a null or a void. You simply carry forward the last valid signal you had, and eventually we got enough downside momentum to get short. It's actually not where this line shows, it's below the inside bar, but it's pretty much a simple best part of $1,000, and you can see how that chart's just loving the blue lines and running down off them. Here's sugar, which again is an ICE market, so not many of you, in fact very few of you, trade the ICE markets, but you can see we had a TO3 buy signal here that ran up almost into its black line, then failed, and the flip me signal was sitting right where I put the black line for you, and it's down about $850 in the last 2 days. Here's silver, which has been far more bullish than gold, and you can see we had a sell signal in silver that really ran it down quite dramatically, and that looked very much like it was continuing the downtrend. So we stayed in that trade, but we had a buy signal the next day, and if we're trading Danielcode signals, we never ignore a time signal. And there was a time signal buy there as well as it being a TO3 plus buy, so we got long today for about $2,200, and you can see that was really helped along by the US dollar index being down, and the common inverse correlation is dollar index down, gold and silver up. They are both highly correlated with each other. Don't trade both of them, trade one or the other. And finally, wheat, which has been in an absolute miserable consolidation for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 days. Horrible thing that it's been. But interestingly, how we got through this trade, we had a TO3 buy signal which got elected, and that meant that if that the failure point, the place where we had our initial stop loss, if that was breached within 3 trading days, not counting inside bars, after the trade is elected, that's your flip me signal. We got short there on Wednesday, had a nice little $900 trade in there today. Finally, I think for these charts, UST bonds today, much the same thing. I wanted to just highlight to you the outside bar which was pretty dramatic on Tuesday, but it has looked almost exactly like a mirror of a market I showed you earlier, where you've got a little $750 run up against the apparent trend, and it then reversed and gave you an outside bar on the day of a new entry, which is also a flip me signal at day one, and that gave you a nice little bit of a trade down. And then we had the reversal signal yesterday, and we got long today. Pretty feeble buy action in here. Okay, so Danielcode tutorials, that's how you learn to create and trade Danielcode time signals, and it's the only way you can learn it. It's not taught on the website. I only teach it in the tutorials. And of course, we've got Mark L with us today, who you've heard from. He's a master trader, did his Danielcode tutorial, and famous for his paper trading, and he is saying he is making the same sort of results with his live trading, which is quite sensational. And as he said, I'll say it again, the Danielcode and John Needham have changed my life. Wonderful, and so kind of him to say that. Greg Palladini, of course, is a wonderful servant of all of you when he did his second Danielcode tutorial a few years ago to learn specifically how to create and trade time signals. He said, I'm going to post everything that I do and everything I think about or feel while I'm doing the tutorial in forum. So if you want to get a real first-hand view of what the tutorial's like, go to forum, get your free trial if you haven't got it already, and find the link that says Danielcode trading tutorial or something like that, and you'll see Greg Palladini. He's a wealth manager and a master trader himself, of course. You'll see him posting about how he found the Danielcode tutorial session. So trading time signals is the big banger now, and that's only available through the Danielcode trading tutorial. These guys that we're bringing to you who are making 300, 400%, 800% Robin got. More than that, Mark L got. Wonderful. So many of our people getting these amazing results with their paper trading. And the minute you say paper trading, everyone says, oh yeah, fluff. You can fluff that. You can fluff anything. But if you take your paper trading really seriously, and one way is in Trade Navigator, there's a tool where you put in the length of data and the dates you want to trade, and it will show you one bar at a time. In other words, you only ever get to see the last completed bar in that market. And if you do your paper trading on that and you're scrupulously honest about it, that's as close to real-time trading as you can possibly get. And it's the most important thing to do if you're learning to trade Danielcode. The people who do the most paper trading make the best traders. And today, very soon, you're about to meet our special guest. So that's Justin's with us today. And let me see, is he here with us? Yes, he is. That's grand. And Justin's and his father, Hank, who's a wonderful man, a good friend of mine, they came to me to do tutorials about 8 or 9 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. And Justin's done a couple of tutorials, I know. He's the most delightful young man you could ever meet. He's got a new family. He comes from Australia's famous Hunter Valley, which is our equivalent to Keeneland in Kentucky, if you like, where all the big horse studs are. The grass is so good there you could eat it yourself. And Justin's done a couple of tutorials at least. And I have had many, many video sessions with Justin. And until recently, he's been getting just average results. 38% or thereabouts return in a year of trading gold. Well, 40% on margin, most people would think that's fabulous. If you want to express that as a percentage return on your account, just halve it, because most brokers like to see twice margin in your account, at least to start with. But he wasn't getting the sort of super trader returns that we know this program, Danielcode Time Cycles, will produce. You're about to meet him very shortly. And I repeat what I said, paper trading does have its limitations, but done properly the way I described it to you from Mark L, in fact, it's the closest thing to live trading that you can possibly do. You're now about to meet a young man who's done a whole lot of paper trading with quite extraordinary results. So, Justin, here we are. Make sure you can hear me, and let's make sure I can hear you, and then it'll be over to you. So, are you with us, Justin? Can you hear me all right? No. Try again. Try now, mate. Okay, something's happening, Justin. Just type that again, what you just did, or type it in the question box so I can see it. Why are you not you having? Here's Justin Woolley's the panelist. Why can't we hear him? The attendee is self-muted. So you are right, good. I heard a noise. Can you hear me now, Justin?
Yeah, I've got you, John. Have you got me?
Wonderful. Got you now, my friend. So let's just
Perfect.
move on to the next slide here, which is your comments to me before you give your presentation to the folks. I was absolutely flabbergasted when I got this email from you, which I asked if I could share with folks. And I haven't posted it yet. I wanted to save it for this webinar. What you've done here, Justin, is so amazing, because this is a story of absolute determination to succeed. This is a story of struggle, of absolute commitment, and great courage. I'm so proud of you, Justin, because you've made that leap now. You're knocking off the 500-600% and what have you. So there's enough. I would like you to now take over, telling your story. And first, here is your first chart that you sent me. I'm going to mute myself. I'll be listening to you. So I'll just follow along and change these charts whenever you tell me you're ready. Is that suitable?
That's fine, John. Thank you very much.
Go ahead then.
Thanks, John. Very humbled to be able to talk at one of your webinars after being a keen listener for so many years. I've got to be honest, I'm suffering from a bit of imposter syndrome speaking here. I'm not the greatest public speaker either, but I hope I can highlight for anyone out there who's struggling or who has struggled like me that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and to just stick with your trading. So I've been trading on and off since about 2008 or so. Before finding John, the money I spent learning how to trade was ridiculous for what I got in return. The money I made was modest at best, and the losses I made were borderline catastrophic, so it was pretty bad. But around 2012 or 2013, my dad, who's also a wannabe trader at the time, he stumbled across John and the Danielcode, ironically, while searching for information about GAN. And look, to be honest, at first glance, I pretty much passed off the Danielcode as being rubbish. I started seeing Bible verses being mentioned, and I was like, no, I'm out. How can trading and the Bible possibly have anything at all to do with each other? So I really didn't take it too seriously for a while there. But my dad kept pushing me about it some more. He showed me John's daily price charts and detailed lists of his trading results, which is something you rarely see from other people pushing trading education. And the results were so good that I had no choice but to take notice. And that's when I really started to get my foot in the door. From there, I began to learn as much as I could from John. I attended webinars, read his articles, watched all of his videos. But it wasn't until I did a tutorial with John where he taught me how to trade time specifically that the fog in my brain really began to clear. Just recently, after encouraging results with my paper trading, John asked me what the most significant changes I made to my trading were that turned everything around. So I gave him 5 points, which I'll try to get through as briefly as I can for you. The first point I made was that I found something that actually worked. So if you're here, then you've obviously found something that works. You've successfully ticked off point one on the checklist. And I think we're all pretty grateful for that, because the reality is that the vast majority of traders will never find out about the Danielcode. So that's pretty special. The second point was that I finally committed to learning how to trade Danielcode time signals as flawlessly as possible. I mean, that sounds pretty straightforward, but it's amazing when you think about it, how many traders, myself included, for a long time, will struggle to follow a simple trading plan when facing periods of trading where you seem to be going absolutely nowhere. And in my case, it was mostly a fear-based issue due to all the baggage I was carrying from previous experiences, all the losses I'd had. So when I started paper trading, I'd often run into periods where my equity curve would begin to go sideways or into a drawdown. And I'd immediately start to panic. And because that's what failed traders like myself did, even with fake money. So, I'd go on and I'd also start to question the system that I was using, maybe because there was something about it that didn't quite resonate with me, and I'd get frustrated with how counterintuitive it seemed. Then I'd make tweaks and changes here and there, thinking I was onto something, thinking that I was fixing a problem. But of course, reality would eventually bite me in the butt. I'd go through periods of complete despair, telling myself that there's no way I'm cut out to be a successful trader, that this is just going the same way as everything else I've done before, and then I'd start the whole process over again. Now, again, that all seems pretty silly when you hear it like that, but that's what the ghosts of your trading past can do to you if it's been a bad one. And I'm sure it's exactly the same for many other traders. Your emotions just get the better of you sometimes. It doesn't matter how grounded or how smart you are away from trading. I know a number of people in my own circle who had a go at trading and entered this same cycle, and to this day have not been able to get out of it. So it's pretty sad, and eventually most people just end up throwing in the towel if they haven't wiped themselves out already. So after finally getting honest with myself about what I was doing, I decided to give myself a fresh start. I went through my computer and deleted or archived all the files from all the previous trading courses I'd done. I stashed away all my old paper trading spreadsheets, and I even gave away all the trading books that I had. I literally wiped the slate clean and started again. And I gave myself one simple rule to follow, and that was to do exactly what John told me to do, nothing else. Just trade the Danielcode exactly how John laid it out and practice it over and over again until it became second nature, and until there's nothing the markets could throw at me that I didn't know how to handle. The Danielcode time system that John teaches you in a tutorial is almost completely mechanical, so there is really no excuse not to follow it to the letter. Which leads me to the third point I made, which is to practice until you can apply the system with your eyes closed. I've done thousands and thousands of paper trades now, and at this point, within a split second of seeing the next bar, I know exactly what I need to do. Even just a few months ago, that wasn't really happening for me. So when I first started paper trading, I got bogged down, stewing over all these different situations that really worried me at the time. There was one time where I came to a meeting with John with a list of 20 different scenarios in the markets that I was paper trading that caused me concern. But what I realized over time was that by trading the system exactly as John told me and getting really, really good at repeating it over and over again, I didn't need to make a mountain out of a molehill about all these situations. I didn't need to get bogged down by them. I didn't need to fuss over them or stress about them. If there was 2 lots of double outside bars in the space of a week, so what? If my trailing stock got hit by the market and then ran away into a massive profit without me, so what? The more I traded exactly how John taught me, the more I saw that over time, all these pesky little situations didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So John would tell me to just say a couple of 4-letter words and then move on. But the market will still be there tomorrow for me. So I put all of those worries out of my mind, and I got really, really good at doing nothing other than executing the plan. That was it. Nothing needs fixing. John's done all the hard work, so I didn't have to. I just needed to focus on being a master at executing the strategy. So the fourth point I made was that I practiced trading at a very high volume of years and markets until I fully understood what the markets would likely give me and when. And for me, this is probably the most underrated point, and this is where I really turn things around. And I'll give you an example. Before I finally got all my paper trading in order, I went through and traded the 2021-2022 financial year in gold. And for that year, I got, as John told you, just 38% on margin, which for most people is probably considered.
I think we've lost your volume, Justin. Are you unconnected or something's happened? Here we are. What have we got from you? No, we've lost Justin. He might have had internet problem, but unfortunately he's disappeared. Is he coming back again now? Yes, here he is. Just give him a moment. He'll be with us. He's reconnecting. Can you hear me yet, Justin?
Yeah, I'm back now, John.
Good man. Did you
Sorry about that. I just
dropped your internet off?
Yeah, something just dropped out a second there.
Terrible, isn't it?
All good now?
You go ahead. We're still with you.
All right. Okay, so gold. As I said, I returned around 38% of on margin for that year in gold, and that's pretty good by what most people would expect, but not so much by Danielcode standards. So after suspecting that something wasn't quite right, I had a couple of chats with John to try and clean up my trading technique a bit. And when I traded that year again, I ended up boosting my return to well over 100%, which was much better, but still a bit lean by Danielcode standards. But instead of just paper trading a few months or a year here and there, I felt I needed to get a much bigger picture of what I was doing. So just so that I could prove to myself that I wasn't going to be dealing with stubborn markets more often than not, and that I could be profitable if I moved away from my old habits and just stuck to the plan. So I went through and traded a total of 4 years in gold, which included that poor year. And that was right from the beginning of 2020 all the way through to the end of 2023. And this really opened my eyes up. 2021 and 2022 returned 207% and 151%. So that's not bad, but it's not really amazing either. But 2020 and 2023, the years either side of that lean patch, returned 624% and 496%. Now you put those 4 years together and you have a return on today's margin, which I think is around $9,000, of just under 1,500% or 135,000 US dollars. So, I mean, if you told me I was going to make 135 grand trading one contract in one market over 4 years, I'd take that any day of the week. So it's a great return. And if you look at the numbers, there's no losing years. In fact, I don't think I've ever had a losing year trading any market in paper trading. And at no point did I come anywhere near making less than 100% return on margin. I was winning around 45% of the time. My wins were just under twice the size of my losses. And I ended up with an average yearly return of around 370% on today's margin. So those are great numbers, no matter how you slice it. And it shows the importance of looking at the big picture, especially when you're sitting in the middle of a rough patch where it seems like you're making absolutely no progress at all. Markets seem to expand and contract with volatility across all time frames. So if you just keep trading, the winning periods will come. And what I found is that they will always overwhelm the sideways or losing periods that you've just gone through. And that's because you never miss any big moves when you're trading time with the Danielcode. It's actually a feature of the system. Now, if I had have just paper traded that one poor year in gold and left it at that, it's highly likely that I would have lost confidence in what I was doing. I mean, I would have been questioning my ability, I would have questioned the system itself. And if that happened during live trading, especially after grinding for months and going absolutely nowhere, I would have thrown in the towel. And the sad thing is that I'd be leaving a solid 135 grand on the table, which is just over 200,000 bucks for Aussies like me. So for the majority of people, myself included, that's a life-changing amount of extra money to have in your pocket. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet, which is pretty important to consider, is that all the results I'm showing and that I'm going to show are about as close to the worst case scenario as you can get. What that means is that if I'm using, say, a trailing stop and it looks on the chart that there was any kind of possibility that my stop would have been touched before the trade ran off into profit, I'd take the full loss every single time. So anything that looks 50-50 in any kind of situation goes straight into the loss column. So if you add up all of these assumed losses that quite likely could have been wins, it can make a big difference to the end result. And in addition to that, I've also taken every single trade that's on offer. So you might have heard John talk in the past about the importance of market selection by looking to trade markets that have a lot of directional movement and staying out of ones that are in tight ranges or shallow trends. Well, these results include every single rubbish consolidation that the market served up to me, and the system still managed to keep my head above water. So if you take these 2 points into consideration, there's really no reason why you couldn't greatly improve on any of the results that I've been getting. Now, I think John may have a chart there of gold, the 4 years that I did, just so you can see it. You can see it right there, that period in the middle there where it's nice and flat, that was the struggle. That was where the 38% was. That I eventually boosted to 207% and 150%, but you can see the year at the start and the year at the end, how they completely overwhelm that period. That's the importance of looking at the bigger picture. And as you can see, the end result there, around just under 1,500% return in total. And I think when you take into account that sideways period, that's a pretty decent effort, especially considering as well that this is, in my view, a worst case scenario. So now to get just an even bigger picture, I've also included the results of a few other markets that I've traded with returns all calculated during, with today's margins. This is all 1 year's worth of trading in each market. First up, I've got wheat. You can see it's got a 1,143% return, a win rate of just under 50%, wins roughly twice the size of the losses, and a $35,000 profit. Next is natural gas, 1,412% return, win rate just over 50%, wins twice the size of the losses, $85,000 profit. Crude oil, 1,200%, win rate just over 50, wins roughly twice the size of the losses, $87,000 profit. And the dollar index, 608% return, win rate almost bang on 50%, wins twice the size of the losses, $12,000 profit. And I've got another one that I'm currently doing that I'm only 8 months into, and that's cocoa. Cocoa has 547% return so far, a win rate of 49%, wins twice the size of the losses, and $8,000 profit so far. So it's all pretty consistent. You can see the same trends with all these markets. Now, from all the years of paper trading that I've done so far, which is probably 10 to 15 markets or so, these results pop up quite a lot. And as I said before, I'm yet to see a single losing year. I'm doing my best to find one, but no luck as yet. But what you don't see in results like these is the ups and downs that you'll sometimes need to trade through to get those results. So keeping in mind that these results should be considered the worst case scenario, John may have an equity curve there of crude oil, which I've brought up, which turned 1200%. You can see the first half of the year was a little bit slow, even though it was hovering around 150 to 300% return on margin at the time. But then you can see that it really went up a few gears in the second half of the year. So trading those two long, shallow drawdowns, which don't look like much now that the year is complete, I would say for me personally, that would have definitely played with my head if I was trading this live and I was totally unprepared for what to expect. On the flip side, you've also got a market like natural gas, which if you look at its equity curve, it's just been going up and up and up all year long. And that's pretty typical as well. You'll see that quite a lot. Now, the last point I'll make about doing a large volume of paper trading is the effect that you get when you put all these markets together. You may have heard that John recommends spreading your capital out across multiple markets, uncorrelated if possible. By doing this, the effect is that you'll greatly increase your chances of trading a market that is trending strongly or has enough volatility in it to give good returns. And you'll also tend to smooth out the effect of any market that's going through a lean patch or a drawdown like gold was. So I decided to put together a bunch of markets from the same year, which includes that poor year I had with gold. And I listed all of the trades in date order so that they occurred in order and I could get a true look at how my account would have performed live over the course of a year. And you can see it on the screen there, and this was the result. A 1,152% return on the combined margin, a pretty smooth and constantly rising equity curve, as you can see. The drawdowns, importantly, were greatly minimized. That was a big one for me. And on top of all that, this was the worst case scenario. I mean, to me, that's just unreal. So again, imagine if I had have just stuck to trading only gold and my first year was that one poor year, which was actually an amazing year by most people's standards. So it really, really helps to put in a large volume of paper trading across a range of markets, just so you can truly begin to internalize what the markets can give you and to correctly align your expectations so that you don't panic or get too excited as well by any small period of trading. So paper trading so many markets across so many years, it can be fairly time consuming, but you need to think about building the best platform for your trading career as you can, because for me anyway, this is something I intend to do for as long as possible. I used to put in solid days of doing this, and I can tell you that can burn you out really quickly. So now I just commit to doing a couple of months at a time here and there when I get a chance. I've actually created a spreadsheet that does all of the time-consuming calculations for me, so I can rip through a couple of months pretty quickly now. So if you haven't gone through and done a high volume of paper trading, I'd highly recommend it. This is probably the point that really turned things around for me. And so my last point was that I unlearned everything I had learned outside of the Danielcode. I can say that probably 80% of the reason why I've been so slow to progress with my trading since coming into contact with John was due to all the baggage that I've been carrying from previous trading experiences. And the problem is a lot of it is subconscious reactions and reflexes that can be hard to pick up at times. The best way I found to help wipe the slate clean completely is to just do a tutorial with John. I've actually done 3 now, 2 of them being video tutorials and 1 of them was in New Zealand. And I can say without a doubt at all that it's the best teaching experience you will get from anyone in the trading world. My wife and I are wedding photographers, and anyone who's familiar at all with the wedding industry will know that the work you do at home as a wedding photographer, even with today's technology, is just ridiculously time consuming. So I've had to stop and start again with my trading at times, and that's obviously prevented me from getting into any kind of rhythm with my learning. But despite that, John has not only been there ready and waiting for me when I've had the chance to spend time on trading, he's actively encouraged me to chat with him on a regular basis to reinforce good behaviors and sort out the range of issues I was having. And I've honestly lost count of the number of times that John has jumped onto a private meeting with me and helped me. So it's just been unbelievable. He is just super committed to seeing me succeed. And it's really comforting and quite humbling, really, that someone like John would go to such great lengths for me and have such great patience with me. I mean, you compare that to any number of other trading courses or workshops that are going around. I mean, you'll spend a couple of days learning a most likely mediocre strategy, and then you're more or less on your own from there, and you'll pay a pretty steep price for it too. So, and I say this without any input from John whatsoever, that if you haven't done a Danielcode tutorial and you haven't learned how to trade time using the Danielcode, then you've just really got to stop looking around and just commit to doing it. I mean, I started my first tutorial around, oh, it was probably 6 or 7 years ago now. Oh, sorry, 6 or 7 years after buying, a bunch of useless courses, going to useless events, making a little money here and there, and then I eventually wiped myself out. But I started my first tutorial a couple of months after I last wiped myself out, after I cleaned up my account and pulled the plug. So if I can do it, then really almost anyone else who's sitting on the fence about it should be able to do it as well. You really only need to look at these results that I've put up and know that John will have your back all the way through it to see that it's the best thing you can do for yourself if you want to be a safe and profitable trader. And look, I'm the guy who's always sat back and seen other people's results, just like Mark's results, and just thought, how the hell am I going to be able to match what those guys are doing? So if you've got any doubts, hopefully that can all be a bit of an inspiration for you. So that's it from me. And with that, thanks very much for listening, and I'll hand the mic back over to John.
That is absolutely wonderful, Justin, and I thank you. And I'm sure all of our folks here today will also thank you. The insights that you've given us into your struggle and your journey and your success and your triumph, wonderful to hear it all. And you've been so open with it. It's a wonderful help to everyone else who in this business is all going the same way. Everyone's trying to become a good trader. And that is just so good of you. I'm absolutely delighted. So thank you again, Justin, and I'll talk to you shortly anyway. So I'll look forward to that. So we're just about the end, folks. Almost perfect timing by Justin there. He obviously he's a very good presenter, isn't he? He was wonderful. This is a chart that you've seen before, and this is what your trading should be like when you've learned to trade Danielcode time signals. That's what Justin's been talking about. So if you seriously have aspirations to be a super trader, if you like the idea and concepts of making 200, 400, 600%, have a really, really good look at Justin's figures that we've been showing you. Have a big think about the other people that we've brought to introduce you to, Greg Palladini, Mark L, of course, and Mark L just put a post up, Justin. Brilliant, Justin. Thank you from Mark L. So it's a wonderful thing. This is a chart you've seen before. This is gold for almost the last 3 years, and it shows you every time turn. And what you can see, they're not exclusive, but every significant turn on this chart, which is gold, which can be a problem. It's a very complex market because of the different inputs that go into it. But every significant turn has happened at a Danielcode time cycle. And this is just raw data. All I've done is run a 29-day time cycle through it. As you can see, it hasn't missed anything. It's absolutely marvelous, and you will learn to do exactly the same thing. So you want to be a trader? This is the link to the interview we had with Mark L a few months ago. If you like to copy and paste that while it's still up there, you can watch that. It's now on our website, which takes you through to YouTube. and you can now listen to Mark L. Top up on top of the wonderful presentation that Justin's given us. That's pretty much us for the time being, folks. If you haven't already done a free trial, please go to www.thedanielcode.com. Start your free trial. Just hit the register button. Any issues, contact Terry at support@thedanielcode. And finally, do pay attention, please, to our standard disclaimer. It's very important that you understand it's really easy to lose money trading if you don't know what you're doing. The good news is it's really easy to make a lot of money very quickly if you do know what you're doing, as Justin has been showing you, and as Mark and Greg and others have attested over the last few months. So do take it carefully. When you know what you're doing, that's fine. If you don't know what you're doing, which is the probability, send me an email and we'll get you started. Chip, thank you, Chip. Important insights, great patience and persistence. It's been marvelous, hasn't he? Wonderful. Cheers, old fella. Glad to have you with us. Hope you're well. That's us for today, folks. Thank you for being with us. I hope there's been the insights we brought to you are something new, and he's just been a marvelous guest today. We're delighted to have had him with us. So bye-bye for now, and I'll look forward to talking to you at our next webinar. And that's it for today. Bye-bye.